First Class Fatherhood. That is where Alec Lace comes in with his popular podcast.
And one of the most interesting was on a podcast.
Alec Lace interviews high-profile fathers from actors to NFL players with a vision to change the narrative of fatherhood and family life.
What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Lace. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood, a family-made media podcast. It's Friday. It's time for another Frogman Friday edition of First Class Fatherhood. I have got a real American hero joining me on the podcast today. Morgan Luttrell joins me today. Morgan is a former Navy SEAL officer. He served our country as a frogman for 14 years. He survived a deadly helicopter crash back in 2009. Morgan is continuing to serve his country as today he is running for Congress in the great state of Texas. Find out more about his campaign. Go to morganluttrell.com. I also had the honor of having his twin brother, Marcus Luttrell, on the podcast a while back. You can find the link to my interview with the lone survivor down there in the description below. While you're down there, smack the subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Morgan Luttrell on First Class Fatherhood. The other things, Morgan, is that patriotism has seemed to be now looked down upon so much in this country, which really boggles my mind. I just spent last weekend, I was with a lot of the Navy SEALs, a lot of your teammates at the Navy SEAL swim across the Hudson River. It was the fourth year that they did it. So it was tremendous to see that amount of patriotism in one place. And I know that that's something that's going to be important with your sons as they grow up. But obviously the whole story of your brother is a humongous story. It was a big movie. How much, I know he's only 9, your oldest, but how much do they know about what happened with your brother, how much you've served, and at what age do you think you would allow them to actually see the movie and sit down and watch Lone Survivor with them?
That's a great question. And I think I'll let them, my sons, I'll let them watch that movie when they can appreciate it emotionally. There's things that I don't let my sons do because they won't grasp and appreciate what the situation actually, the gravity of it. And since that is Uncle Marcus and that happened to him, they are aware of, I mean, they know that their Uncle Marcus did something amazing. They know that he's a hero, an American hero. But they don't understand the loss of life. My baby Lincoln is, he's, for whatever reason, this past couple of weeks, if you fast forward the tape, in 2011, 3 of my roommates were killed in the largest loss of life, extorted 17, and one of them, one of my best friends at the time, JT, was passed away. We have a memorial, and my son stands every morning, walks by and salutes it, comes in, he's like, I miss him, but never met him. So I think they're starting to appreciate the service because I surround them with former teammates and patriotic people. Marcus and I do that. But again, they won't watch. I can't say if Marcus will actually let them watch it or my mother or whatever, but I won't let them watch that movie until they can appreciate it. And as far as patriotism goes, it's something I don't try to force feed them that. I show them what patriotism is, and I show them what patriotism is not. And it's like, this is why we do. This is why we love our country. This is why we study our histories. This is why we respect our elders. This is why, you respect somebody in uniform, whether that's police, firefighters, sanitation workers. It doesn't matter because they're making a sacrifice for you, son, for you. And they're not asking anything in return. And I try to instill that, not force it so they won't turn away from it.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think some of it is so much lost in our country right now that I really think we need to get it back. So, and I hope now, obviously, we touched on your campaign, and we said about how just terrible it is, the political atmosphere in the country. But how has it been for your family? Have you been able to keep them away from this stuff? Have you seen any kind of backlash? I know social media, you're going to get all them kind of troll people, but have people been somewhat respectful on the campaign trail? And how is the campaign going?
When Gunnar and Lincoln are president, and Leslie too, people have been very respectful, and I appreciate that. I mean, that's great because this is a very disrespectful career. The second that I announced my candidacy, a very large majority of the country turned their nose up at me, and I hate that because before then, because Marcus is everyone, it doesn't matter your political persuasion, whatever, Marcus, and we're twins. So Marcus walking around, that's a big, people like, oh, hey, thank you for, but now, because I did this, and this is one of the conversations we had to have. Hey, I'm a conservative Christian Republican, and that changes people's perspective because I'm out in the open. And I'm sure people kind of appreciate that we probably were anyway, but since I never said it, that we got a little, a wide berth, if you will. The campaign is when I'm alone can be aggressive, but never around the children. And I think that, and I appreciate that. Our district where we grew up is where I'm running, and it's very a conservative Christian district. So I speak that language, and people appreciate it. And I'm not saying it's not very challenging and aggressive, because out here people demand a lot of their leadership and they hold them accountable, which I'm very excited about. But when Lincoln and Gunner are with me, they'll either pull me off to the side, or it's not in your face, hitting you with anything yet. I mean, I haven't had that happen yet, but I'm sure it's coming. But the campaign itself is going very well. It was a very challenging primary. There was 11 of us, some amazing individuals that I ran against. We took it without a runoff at almost 53 points, which is very profound. I built an army. We were very aggressive, very involved in it. Because of my wife and kids' involvement in the campaign, I think that helped us out tremendously, because they respected that I brought them along, and this was a family decision. So we're running into November, campaigning like we're in last place, and we'll see. Hopefully it turns out. I think it will.
Yeah, well, and best of luck to you with the campaign. I can only imagine how challenging it must be too, especially as a family man, trying to make sure that you're doing the right thing for your family as well. How about as far as traditions, Morgan? You guys got any family traditions that you guys either are carrying over from your own childhood, or any new ones that you created? Are you guys like elf on the shelf people? Do you have any kind of like traditions in the family?
We do. And Marcus and I seem to create something for every holiday. My brother's big into that. He spends a lot of time on the tractor cutting hay and moving cattle. So he's like, I got a great idea. Let's do this. We do elf on the shelf. Kids really enjoy that. My wife and I, in order to make Christmas last, we open a present every hour instead of all of them first thing in the morning. So Christmas lasts all day.
Wow, I like that.
Yeah, that was something that we've done for a long time. Traditions as far as we do what's called the yearly cleansing. Marcus and I do this. The boys have gotten involved in that because they're getting older. Our yearly cleansing is Christmas Eve. At midnight, we jump in a body of water wherever we may be, and the guys I grew up with come out. It's a big deal, and it's usually extremely cold, but it's the yearly cleansing. We've been doing it since we were juniors in high school.
Wow, very cool. All right, well, I'm not going to keep you much longer here. Last thing I want to hit you with, Morgan, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Yeah. Yeah, I had to learn this later on, unfortunately, and it's something that I've course corrected in the ways that I raise my sons. They remember everything, and it took a journey for me to realize that how I was talking to Gunner like he was a team guy, and when I finally had the realization that it doesn't have to be that way because he's 9, my patience just drastically increased. And I really, if something happens, I, as a father, stop, I look, I listen, and I try to understand, and I don't make a decision or a reaction at that moment because nobody's shooting at us. It's not life or death. Hey, just stop hey, what's going on here, and take time to realize, is it worth what reaction is worth it? And that was one of the most important things for me, because my daddy didn't do that. And so Marcus and I kind of lived in fear every time daddy came home, and I don't want that for my sons. So if they break the rules, calm and collected, always be calm and breathe. Let's breathe. For new daddies, I mean, when Gunner showed up, like the third day, I was outside raking the dirt, and my neighbor drove by, and she rolled the window down. She's like, "It's okay if you want to throw him out of a window, just don't do it." Because he was crying, that kind of thing, new daddy thing, right? I was like, yeah, but just be patient, and remember, they're babies. We have to teach them, so they may not know that they messed up.
Yeah, very well said, Morgan. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Morgan Luttrell, you're a first-class father all the way. Thank you for your service, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
Hey, God bless you and everything you do, partner. Take care.
You have been listening to First Class Fatherhood. First Class Fatherhood is a family-made media podcast. Please visit www.firstclassfatherhood.com or www.familymade.com to find out more details. You can order First Class Fatherhood advice and wisdom from high-profile dads on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Proverbs 22:6 tells us, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will never depart from it." God bless, and I'll catch you next time.